Welcome to SEO Chess, and today we're gonna be looking at an instructive rook ending between Firuja and Giri. I actually ran into this by mistake in a magazine, and the position is quite amazing. And here, the first mistake that Giri makes is rook e7 in this position, starting from here. Why is this a mistake? And this is something that's very important for you as a player when you are playing. Is essentially what you're looking for is ideas that help you make better decisions in specific positions. And the division that we've made in chess to sort of put the knowledge into structure has been openings, middle games, end games. And here you are in an end game. The reason why this is an end game, obviously the kings are very active in this position and they are aiding in the process. So the objectives of the end game is to push past pawns, like what white has here on e5. And if that's not possible, attack weaknesses to create past pawns. And essentially in the end game there are three weaknesses: isolated pawns, backward pawns, and advanced pawns. This pawn is a passed pawn, but it's also an advanced pawn, which makes it very weak. And it's quite difficult for the king to participate in its sort of protection, especially if the black king gets to f5. So here, black needs to think about, number one, blockading this pawn, which is already done. So with that in mind, it would have been much more accurate to start thinking about how can he slow down white's process. So a move like h5 would have been ideal. Number one, takes this square away from the white king, and also hampers these pawns from moving the process of creating a passed pawn. So let's say after h5 the white king goes f3, he would have played king g5, just protecting his pawn. It's also important to note that here taking the h4 pawn would be equivalent to really giving up any ambitions to win the game. So that's why you would have played king f3. This is just like our own analysis. So let's say king g5, again limiting the king from participating in this process, because if the king guards the pawn, then the pawn will advance. So and again here you have to be very precise. Not king f5, because now rook takes h4 works, and whichever way we take this pawn, let's say for instance we take with the rook, then rook check, the king moves somewhere, and after this exchange these pawns will promote. So this is something you don't want. Going back, let's say you take with the king, again he has this annoying check, and after the king say, in fact, you know, here it's even easier to just take with check again, and you've got just two clear pass pawns, and this ending should be winning also. So that's why he doesn't really rush to come to the center. He has to play king g5. Okay, so after king g5, we would have, let's say, rook b4, and after rook e5, rook takes. Black has got this resource, which is very handy in this position, because after exchange of pawns, the ending would be equal, or at least drawn. So going back now, we went on this whole innuendo to explain why playing rook e7 was not the best of ideas. So now Firouzja does the right thing, brings the king to the center. If he can support the pawn with the king, then the rook is free to put pressure elsewhere. So after king f3, king f5, now if you look at this ending superficially, you can get the idea that maybe perhaps black is doing fine here, but actually the opposite is true, because here there's a resource, I think, which probably Giri missed, not sure, but possibly missed this idea of rook takes h4. Again, we come back to what we mentioned earlier, that the pawn ending resulting after the exchange of rooks is lost. And after king takes e5, though it's actually quite complex, it's still lost. And after rook e4 check, king f6, we get this exchange of rooks, and we reach this position. The question is, will white be able to create a passed pawn that black cannot stop? And that's really the challenge. So it means that earlier on in this position, Giri needed to foresee this possibility of king f3 here, take, and after take, rook check, king f6, take, take, and here be able to evaluate this position in his mind and see if it's a one pawn ending or a lost pawn ending. For grandmasters, this part is very easy because it's more like you know, these stock positions where it's easy to evaluate because you've seen it before and you know exactly how to play it, and you know the mechanisms behind converting that kind of position. In other words, you've studied your endgames. From here on, when it becomes a pawn ending, it becomes about exact calculation. Pawn endings are, are not about talent, they are about exact calculation and remembering key positions. So here, Firouzja goes for the right idea. King f4, obviously trying to body check the king. When you body check the king, that's when you push it away using the body of the king. So Giri does the same, king f6. So because of the nature of kings, now each king cannot make an advance. So now you have to just be clever about your pawn moves. For instance, if white plays h4 and black plays h5, with one move, black can stop white from moving. So white moves the right pawn, g4, and black goes a5, and we see the same idea which we spoke about, using one pawn to limit a lot. Here, black goes, white goes a4, black goes h6, h4, and now king e6. It's quite tempting here to play b5, and the handling of this is very instructive because you see this idea quite often, but it's something that can be a little bit of an optical illusion to overlook, because it looks like black's pawns can just march and overrun white's pawns. So if you like to exercise, you could pause the video at this point and try to see if you can figure what is the correct solution to handle b5. Okay, I'm hoping you did. And the right move here is king e4. The point is that if this pawn takes, the two of them are actually held by one pawn anyway. The king will simply be able to go here and take these two, and white should win because black is preoccupied with these two pawns here, and he can never create a pass pawn on the king side. So b5 wouldn't work. So the next thing is, after king e6, we go g5. now creating a pass pawn on the king side. And after pawn takes, here again an instructive moment. If you want to learn, pause the video and try to guess what's the best recapture. Is it pawn takes or king takes? If you did, I'm hoping you found the right move. King takes g5 is the correct move, because now you keep what we call an outside pass pawn, again distracting the black king as much as possible to stop it. So after king takes g5, just to illustrate, if you go h takes g5, now this pawn is a little bit closer to the queen side. It makes black's task a lot more easier. You simply go b5, and now because he body checks us, we can just easily match this side without losing this pawn and exchanging all the pawns. We have to play b3, and after king f7, king f5, using body check to drive him to the other side, king g7, king e5, b takes a4, b takes a4, king g6, and we go king d6, king g5, king takes c6, king to f5, king b5. And the problem is after king e6, king a5, king d7, king here, king c8, we managed to prevent white from controlling this b7 square, which is needed to promote the pawn. And as a result, we will draw this position. If you are not familiar with the idea, we just keep our king here, and the white king is enclosed in this small prison, and he cannot come out, therefore the pawn cannot promote. So going back, it's a small detail, but a very important one. Which pawn you take with, you have to take with the king, creating an outside passed pawn. And after king takes g5, the king goes to f7. Now we are one move, like to our advantage to the previous idea, and the pawn is still a little bit backwards here. So after king f5, b5, we go again. Now king e5. We can let him take, but we'll be able to stop these pawns and take that pawn, create this pass pawn, and you've got a won endgame. I thought this was very instructive, and a lot of people could benefit from it. And if you did, thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next video. You can always support us by subscribing and liking our videos. We really appreciate that. Thank you.